Welcome to Trippin' Tales from the Toadstool. I'm your host, Kimberly Dawn, and today's tale is told by 53-year-old Madeleine of St. John's, New Brunswick, Canada. Her tale begins from the moment she was born, and it's as vivid in her memory as if it were yesterday. This is her story. It was a cold, stormy night the night I was born. I remember this because I watched it all unfold in front of me. Not because it was a tale my parents told to me. I don't talk about this experience often, but more now that I am getting older and things like this are more accepted. I remember trying to tell my mother once what happened to me, but she wouldn't hear of it. After a few times of her waving her hands at me and telling me to stop making up stories, I stopped sharing my tale for a very long time. I remember being in my mother's stomach. Someone was there with me, not physically, but a presence that I would now say was telepathic, like a connection of sorts to somewhere else. As I occupied my mother's belly, I was able to come and go into the body as I pleased through this connection. When it became time to be birthed, I got scared. The being on the other side of this connection told me I had to go, and that I would see them again once I was finished my mission. I panicked. I changed my mind. I didn't want to be in that body. It wasn't comfortable, and I didn't want to be alone without the person I had been connected to. As the connection slowly disappeared, so did the voice in my head. It had been with me for the entire duration of my mother's pregnancy. I cried out for them to stay, and as I did, I popped out of my body again. I found myself hovering above the bed my mother delivered me in. I was in fear and did not know what to do now. I felt a presence next to me and then heard, "You must go back. It is what you must do." And then with a whooshing sensation, I was again back in that body, feeling the winter cold wind drafting through the windows in that cold, dark room. I screamed because I wanted to go back to where I came from. And again, I popped out of my body and watched the doctors take me away from my mother into another room. It was cold and dark like the last one, and they laid me on a table. I heard them talking, and they said I wasn't doing well, and I wouldn't make it through the night, they figured. I was failing to thrive. They left me alone to die in that room. I could feel it. I knew no one had faith I could live. But in that moment, I understood so much. I did not want to live, so I was failing to do so. As I hovered in the corner of the ceiling of that cold, inviting room, I noticed the presence was back beside me. It was explained to me why it was so important for me to live in the body, and what I would be doing for humanity if I could find the courage to stay and live the life I was meant to live. The presence also asked me to look at the baby below, to see how it was struggling, dying even, and asked me if I wanted it to die. I didn't. I felt bad for it, and I wanted it to be okay. As I had that thought, the being gently pushed me back into the baby's body, and as uncomfortable as it was, I did feel better. It was getting more comfortable each time I went into it. I continued to pop in and out of my body for the first year of my life. It was a hard adjustment for me to come here, but one I eventually took to. A lot of people ask me what I know about the other side since I remember leaving it. I tell them nothing. All I ever did when I left my body was stay in this realm, close to it, and be encouraged to complete my life by an unknown being. I have no memory of where I was connected to when I was in my mother's belly, nor where I wanted to go back to so bad, and I still don't, to be honest. I know my mother loved me, but I just never felt love for my mother like I did for the being that was with me during the pregnancy. I understand now why we forget when we were born. If we didn't, I think we would all be very upset we are actually here. This experience happened 53 years ago, and I will never forget it. I may not know where I came from prior to this life, But I do know I came from somewhere much nicer than here, and I will be returning when it is over to very grateful people who will be happy I stayed, even if I don't understand why. What do you think of this story? Have you ever contemplated where you came from, why you were here, or where you are going to next? It seems, if you believe Madeleine's story, that it may be something you may want to contemplate in the years to come. Just because you cannot see something does not mean it doesn't exist. We can only perceive what our brains and eyes can see. Like a beetle trapped on a tabletop, it does not understand it has any escape, as it does not have the intelligence nor the sight to see there is a level above them, nor one below them. They are trapped on the tabletop forever, not knowing what is around them, as they are not capable of this processing. The bug on the table only understands its two-dimensional world, that it can see, touch, taste, feel, and hear. It does not know a shelf is located above him, or a table leg is at the center below the tabletop. The bug is unaware that there is another dimension around him, because he cannot see it, nor has the intelligence to perceive it. Are we just like the bug, living in a three-dimensional world, not capable of seeing what is all around us, as we do not have the sight nor the intelligence to perceive anything else? Maybe if us humans were not so sure to think that only what we can see exists, then maybe more would open up to us to see. With faith in the unseen world, one could open up to things they could have never perceived before. Tell me what you think of this story in the comments. Please like and subscribe to be notified when more stories are uploaded, and share with anyone that would enjoy these Trippin' tales from my toadstool. Email me at kimberlydawncanada@gmail.com with your Trippin' tale, and I'll be glad to tell it. We live in a multiverse, folks, and the stories you hear on my channel are true stories, in the experiencer's own words, to help those seeking answers to what comes next and why we are here in the first place. Expand your mind, and until next time, I am Kimberly Dawn. Thank you for listening.